Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, March 18th, and we're starting a little late. I stayed up kind of late last night working on playing QUBE Director's Cut. Interesting game to have a Director's Cut because the first game is basically an expansion to a student project and had really no polish on it and no story, and then the Director's Cut puts a little bit of polish on it and some story, but the game still pretty much feels pretty short, so it won't take me too long, I bet, to beat the game. And it has some crazy achievements like playing the game 500 times. Even if it is short, I don't see a real reason why you'd want to do that. The main reason I'm covering it though is because the Director's Cut came out 5 years ago too, so it was right in the line with the Talos Principle, and then, which means it was several years past Portal 1 at least. So we really haven't had an environmental 3D puzzle platformer game in a while, and I'm just trying to burn as a series the ones I did manage to get. So I'll play Cube 2 and Magnetic Case Closed, I think is Magnetic Cage, or maybe is the name of it. Let's see, what do we need to do? Shield, Divine Shield, minions, take 30 turns, that's easy enough, 6 mechs. So, one of the things that we didn't do, and this is going to take basically no time at all, is we need to go ahead and just get rid of these wild decks. And the new patch has an auto deck building feature. So what I need to do is quickly go through the 9 here, and let's just rename them or convert them to wild. I guess that would be the easiest thing to do. So there's a wild druid. This apparently has no name to it, converted to wild. I didn't. Odd, you can have like a no-name deck. I wonder if maybe there was something in that name that's getting censored. I don't see a reason why that would happen. No, it says it's Spell Hunter. That was just a glitch. Yeah, we're just straight up running into a glitch. Because the name of your deck doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't get shown to anybody, so if I wanted to put a highly offensive name on it, only people watching my stream would see that. So there's not some backdoor, this is how to avoid chat spam or something like that. So the reason with the new patch, you can just auto make your decks and you don't have to net deck anymore. Net deck being the process of going to something like hsreplay.net, which is what I was using with the Hearthstone deck tracker app to get the best deck possible for the cards I have. Now it's just built into it, and like Hearthstone is kind of proud that so many people are net decking, or effectively net decking now using the auto deck generators. Like that's a good thing. It really isn't, because it really is just creating this monoculture, but you have to kind of do it if you want to win at all. So, and hsreplay.net would still help more than I think people would think. But they were trying to do stuff like this with the recipes. So it doesn't seem to work in wild, but at all. And if you had a very specific card you wanted, you could put one card in there and just click complete my deck. Gosh, I'm getting tongue-tied. But if you want the best deck you can build right now, you just click this. And this is what Hearthstone says is the best deck I can play. And let's see what this probably is. I don't know what the name of this would be, but this is probably the best. So, yeah, I probably won't be able to name any of these. And so we're just going to play with this until the new expansion comes out. Now, when the new expansion comes out, things will be different. HSreplay.net can tell me with my 800 dust what are the cards that I should craft instead to make my collection better in general. Theoretically, doing this is either better for people that don't really care or don't about rank play too much, or people that don't have any dust, but pretty quickly you're gonna have to learn the ropes about what are the things that you should be crafting. This order seems different than the order it was before. I guess maybe I made the decks previously in a different order. This really also kind of throws the recipes out the window, because recipes now only would slightly push people to get certain cards. And these decks, of course, are just going to change. I should have done this off screen, but I thought this was going to be quicker than it actually is. The animations here make it slow. The next step for Hearthstone would be to have it prompt you at some point and just say, hey, we've noticed that we can make a better deck for you. Do you want us to do that? And this will be an interesting experiment. The thing here is you basically can't beat this statistically, because you don't have the statistics that Activision Blizzard has. They've seen that they get a counter every time somebody makes one of these decks. They see every time somebody wins with one of these decks. They see every time somebody wins with any card. So they have the statistics, the numbers to tell you, no, we know what we're talking about. Statistically speaking, this is the best deck you can possibly have. The only way for you to get ahead of all the other Hearthstone's players is if you had special understanding, knowledge, or strategy that no one else had, which is highly unlikely. And if you think about the first seasons in particular, the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh, the Yu-Gi-Oh cartoon anime, there we go. Think about how Yugi came across every single enemy, and every single enemy had a new card that Yugi and nobody had seen at that point. If random cards were given to random people, and each person that was playing had a unique and random card that nobody else had, or very few had, you could do something like that, but that'd be very hard to balance and very hard to maintain. And in the Yu-Gi-Oh cartoons, it was always the Yugi's understanding of his cards that nobody else understood. I guess if we're gonna play Divine Shields, we have to play Paladin, don't we? That's really all we have. So I'm at rank 17, which is possibly the highest rank I've ever been at, so I would like to see some big win ratios here too, if we can pull that off. So yeah, like, I don't know, if you were to make, it would probably have to be a single player experience for a card game, but if you were to say in a single player Yu-Gi game that you have this special card, this god card that only you have and nobody else has, or you have this bit of secret information that only you know and nobody else knows. That would give you that advantage, that one player that advantage. But it would be insanity. So since you can't really do that, we are left with, this is an odd paladin, you're left with the issue of just working your way through playing net decks like everybody else. And if everybody now starts net decking, then that means at best I'm gonna be in the middle of the ranks. Like we're certainly not getting a large influx of new players that we can just wreck and make miserable by defeating all the time. Let's go ahead and start covering the news since there's not a lot else to do today. We do have a decent amount of games, certainly, but that's kind of it. Minions die while this is in your hand. Well, okay. So we're gonna have to take this guy out anyways.
Reporting for duty. Job's done.
Let's see. I think South by Southwest is either over or... Yeah, 6 hours ago, South by Southwest Gaming 2019 is coming to a close. We hope all your friends came to yield us a safe trip home. What's weird about that is, wasn't that where they... I guess maybe that's not the event where Gearbox was announcing all those games, because there's been zero announcements of any games.
Mushroom power.
Let's see.
The battle.
I killed that one, that way I maintain my... want to kill that one to maintain my system here. I guess the best I'll get here is that. So yeah, we've got a lot of games on Steam. Let's do this. Hopefully the web peek is working. Yeah, I didn't check that. It should be working though. So we have a game here called War Theater. It looks... It says it's an RPG, but it looks like a fighting game in its fighting mechanic. Maybe it's just a turn-based, you attack and then your opponent attacks style of game.
Let me think.
Now, this doesn't look really like an RPG Maker game. It does, however, just look weird. But I'm gonna give it a chance. Like, it looks like the map might be particularly small. I like this weirdness to it.
I wonder.
Let's see. Hit this. Hit this.
Reporting for duty.
Hit.
I must move quickly. The battle.
I'm a little worried that the very first game I look at, I'm already emotionally drained as far as decision making. I'm gonna have to build up that tolerance. Like it's just gonna have to happen. I can't have games like this rolling around for as long as they have in the past. There we go. I probably could have killed that, couldn't I have? Yeah. I guess it doesn't matter though.
battle.
This guy can do whatever he wants with that. It still won't work. Gametsu has an article. The next major Sonic the Hedgehog title is in development. Further details not announced. This is apparently it was announced at South by Southwest. So that's a small bit of information, but not certainly enough. So the only thing we didn't do is play mechs, and so we may have to make a specific mech deck, but at the moment we're winning and we're still doing what we need to do. Next we have a game on Steam called Space Mining Clicker, and it's pretty obvious any game with Clicker in the name is not likely to make it to the follow list. And this looks polished, certainly, but I don't want a mining clicker game at all, base building clicker game. And the graphics are a little dull in the color palette. It looks like a very dull pastels. $3.99 discounted for a clicker game too is way too expensive, so forget that. Let's see, I don't think we need any of these to start with. See, Hearthstone update March 14th. I think all of this I've already talked about. I mean, I guess we could show it off with the web peak while we're here. So pre-purchase the Rise of the Shadows, 2 options there. Mammoth is now gone. That was the Year of the Mammoth to the Year of the Dragon. If you log in between March 25th and April 2nd to receive 3 free card packs, 1 from each of these expansions. Here's the card backs. They're working on reconnect improvements. You're going to be able to reroll legendary quests. If I don't know why you'd want to. You have a random card back selector. Golden Heroes now count arena wins. Go for gold in arena. We're updating the 500 wins requirements for Golden Heroes to include arena wins, as well as ranked wins, which means that's really nice for. Oh, it's them that's not playing. Good. That's nice for people that just want to play arena. We just did the complete my deck. I currently disabled in wild format. Like interface elements overlapping. That's the fuzzy graphics we've seen many times. So yeah, a few little updates in setup for the next expansion, which I imagine is coming pretty quickly. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the next expansion came out this Tuesday, more likely next Tuesday. Like, you don't want to get too close to April 1st and make it sound like an April Fool's Day joke, because that would irritate people. But you might do it something like that. Let's see. TechCraft has an article here. A song in the Void review, better left unsung. Let's see. They give it a 5.0 average. A Song in the Void does nothing further to further the platforming genre, and even worse, it barely is a decent level of quality. You're better off playing another walking simulator or Mirror's Edge, depending on what you're looking for. Let's see.
Handle it.
Your opponent's back.
Well, one more victory and I'll get a win streak. That will bump me up to the next level. The pros for A Song in the Void is a solid soundtrack only. The cons are bland, minimalistic aesthetic, terrible, unpredictable platform design, and stagnant gameplay throughout. And I have no idea what A Song in the Void is, so it wasn't on my radar either. It looks fine in the screenshots. Like we can show the screenshots here. You might be tricked into thinking this is something, but there's, with this low polygon artistic style, it seems kind of empty texture. And then this looks nothing like the other screenshots at all. And then a giant floating sky is an indicator of a lack of content, at least visually and landscape wise. You know, I don't feel like I'm really running into any major challenge to get into a late game solution here. Seems like I'm winning in the first 5 turns, which is excellent. Like the one thing I've always wanted is to just be able to win in 5 turns and not get to these later mid-game scenarios. But I'd like to be able to survive in those later mid-game scenarios, and I feel like this deck probably can do that. So I very much, I mean, it would be impossible, frankly, to make the argument that I haven't been playing below what my collection could be playing at. Like, I'm still having the issue of not really caring and not paying 100% attention. And so that will still bite me in the butt eventually.
Reporting for duty. Reporting for duty. The battle! The battle!
Repent!
Next we have a game on Steam called Tricky Cat, which seems like you have to jump on each box once. Or sometimes you can jump on the boxes twice, but you have to jump on everything to then make it to this pinwheel.
I wonder.
This looks like a puzzle platforming style of game. It's 59 cents. Frankly, for the price, 59 cents discounted. If you are into small little games that probably should be free on mobile, this is not a terrible one, at least on first appearance, but that's not what my Steam library is for, and that's not the kind of game I'm trying to cover. And he did lightning, which then causes me to have some trouble.
Reporting for duty. Job's done.
So he cleared off the board, but whatever. Next we have a game on Steam called Late Night 1320, which looks like it's a racing game. Or a car maintenance. Looks like a lot of car maintenance in it too. These screenshots here are killers. Just a small text over a still probably not even a screenshot as much as just a pre-made image. It seems like it's always from the same angle. And then this here looks very low effort too. This possibly was a mobile game that has just been ported. It says it's early access. It's $9.89.
Let me think.
Frankly, putting your faith in a racing game in a small company is silly. It's not worth the direction you'd want to go.
Reporting for duty. The battle.
Hit this.
The battle.
And this.
Job done.
Thing. So I'm gonna pass on Late Night 1320. That's a ridiculous name too, because in the year 1320 cars wouldn't have existed, And I have no idea what 1320 otherwise would stand for.
Reporting for duty. Out of my jungle.
Let's see.
Hit it very hard.
For justice.
Job done.
I see a vision in the flames.
Yeah, let's keep talking. Sorry, it got quiet there. Next we have a game on Steam called Massive Air Combat. Doesn't look terrible, but it's an unknown developer and an unknown publisher. Same thing with the racing car game. I'd really like to see a recognizable developer or publisher try to make something that's this ambitious. There's seems to be an effort to put cutscenes in here, but the angles on this female body looks really out of order. Yeah, it doesn't look very well animated. This looks low effort, asset flippy. It's $3.59. The game is too cheap, honestly, for what you're trying to promise. Okay. So,
Let me think.
let's do this.
Ungoro belongs to the Titan.
Speak your peace.
Go away.
Move quickly.
The battle. The battle.
For justice.
There we go. Might have played that slightly premature. Gematsu has an article. 2D futuristic arena game Gravity Heroes has been announced for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC, due out this fall. Doesn't look particularly appealing to me. It looks like another 2D platforming game where you're just running around fighting each other, of which there's way too many of those. Alright, let's do this. Win streak bonus, and very possibly this is the first time I've ever gotten to rank 16. And if I make it to rank 15, then almost certainly. But this might be the beginning of something great, because if now I stick and stay around something around rank 15 every month, maybe I'd get a little bit more gold, a little bit more dust. I would be ahead of the curve. When the new expansions happen, I can get a significant amount of the important cards and new expansions and stay ahead of the curve. I imagine that they work very hard, Activision Blizzard works very hard to make it impossible to stay ahead of the curve and even maintain like a rank 10 without paying at least $100 every expansion. So I still am very much coming from the perspective that I don't think a free-to-player like me can get that high. But I bet there's some streamers out there that have put in a lot more time than I have, and they'll argue against that and say, no, actually, I can take this free-to-play account to rank 1 and higher. Let's see. Gematsu has an article. Retro-style cyberpunk first-person shooter Project Downfall, now available via Steam Early Access, and it's coming to the Xbox One and Switch. It's a reflex-based shooter with adventure elements. It looks weird, certainly. Like, it looks odd. I don't know how to really describe it, because you have like a flat 80s pixely animation and some weird almost cyan and magenta colored text, and then you get into this and this looks like a Quake mod graphics.
Reporting for duty.
And that, and that, and do that. Almost ran out of time. Let's see if there's a video here that I could get a better idea of what Project Downfall is. Yeah, it looks very much like if you took the art aesthetic of something like Doom, although I would put it closer to Duke Nukem. It looks really like it's more thematically closer to Duke Nukem. If you put those art assets into a 3D more recent engine. Let's see.
Out of my jungle.
Well, here's a mech. And here's a mech. I could kill this guy now. Or I could wait. Let's wait. I guess I don't really have to make any big decisions about Project Downfall right now since it's just been announced in early access. We'll give it time and let some other people talk about it first. Like, all of these articles talking about games that that aren't actually out now are kind of just wasting people's time, my time. There you go. Seriously?
The battle! The battle! The battle! The battle!
I fight.
Go away!
That was irritating. That was even worse.
Reporting for duty.
See, and I really want to pay attention here. I don't want
The light protects me.
to waste energy.
For justice.
This is just a small amount of damage to get rid of him. Oh, in case he was going to heal him or do something else.
Handle it! Reporting for duty.
For justice.
Well, he doesn't have any more of those cards, so he can't really do anything else. Next, we have a game on Steam called Cubes, which is just a cubes rolling around puzzle game, it looks like. There's nothing here that looks particularly interesting. 1 versus 1 game, fast thinking, so it's multiplayer only, early access $4.24. Yeah, I don't see anything here that particularly I'd want to play. Like, it feels like a game that would have been fine as a mini game, but
Out of my jungle.
not as interesting outside of being a mini game. Just gonna play that.
Job done.
Like, yeah, it looks like the cubes. It's spleef is kind of what it's like. I don't know if that's the actual name of the game. The mini game they invented inside of Minecraft, where you knock the the sand from under the.
Go away.
You knock the sand from under the feet of other players and try to make them fall out of the world. Yeah, well, whatever. That's just not interesting. I'm really distracted now because I really want to win. I want to keep that streak going, and this guy's actually playing, whereas the last couple people haven't actually been playing.
I wonder.
Onward, friends, to adventure.
This guy has all kinds of taunts.
Our witch shall never end. Our witch shall never end. Our witch shall never end.
Okay. Now what do we want to do?
Go away.
Hit this guy.
Mushroom punch.
Not hit this guy. Hit this guy, possibly. And then not hit that guy. Next we have a game on Steam called Brave Knight Runner, which looks like an infinite runner. Except for you're a knight throwing axes instead of just your standard things. Yeah, looks like a mobile game, looks simplistic. 89 cents discounted. Yeah, no interest there. Just managed to silence everything. Thanks, game. Well, he's got me on that one. Okay.
Hit it very hard. The frost wolves stand ready.
10. Let's get rid of this one.
Go away.
And this one. And then this. This. Need to play taunt.
Out of my jungle.
Take that.
I must move quickly.
Let's just end the turn here. Well, lost. There goes my streak. There goes my streak, but that's not terrible. I mean, we could get the streak back. I've played one mech. Is there a reason to switch to any other deck, or let's just stick with this? Next we have a game on Steam that's just asterisk asterisk asterisk. Now that is about the stupidest low effort name you could possibly make, regardless of how good this game is or isn't. Nobody's ever going to be able to search that and find that. It will not come up. There was a game called like Destruction also that came out about a week ago that, like, when I tried to look it up, I had trouble finding it because just everything comes up when you type in Destruction into the Steam's website. Seems like they do no search or engine optimization half of the time, just to think about, hey, what is our game gonna look like when people try to find it? Yeah, this looks like just a small puzzle game. That's what it even says. It's 59 cents discounted. Is it an achievement game? No, not at the moment. It has no achievements. So, yeah. Don't see anything there that would interest me.
But we fight.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Destiny Hero. Finally, we see something with at least a little graphics on it. It's a story-based RPG game which you can control 2 characters. That's nice looking. Nice statues and platforms. There's some darkness in this trailer that I'm looking at, and I also have taken note that I saw in that trailer exactly 0 characters.
Repent.
And now that I'm looking at the screenshots, there's a screenshot with an archer and warrior that you can select, but apparently there's some level of customization because I'm seeing some female character in a thong, being able to see her buttocks, and I'm seeing a life bar that looks pretty unpolished, that makes it feel like an asset flip game. And there's definitely something about the darkness in this game. The shadows are too dark. I would say the gamma is not correct. I guess maybe the warrior is the female character in a thong. Destiny Hero is $14.99, no discounted, and it feels to me like it is a attempt at an asset flip game.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see.
To battle.
This is probably a good trade-off. Next, we have a game on Steam called Random of Wars, which is an asset flip war survival game. It says it's an RPG, but I don't know if I really believe that. It's $2.39. I suppose will always be this weirdness that happens if I have filtered games left over from Friday, which I have in this instance. Then those games are going to be at a higher level of quality than the games that came out on Monday. So every stream is going to start with showing off a bunch of bad games, and then eventually it'll work its way into showing off the good games. And all of this would be fixed, frankly, if I had like a secretary, or a secondary streamer. If there was a entirely different stream that happened before this, just looking through games to hand the games that are actually worth talking about to me, which would be still kind of a secretary mode. It would just be a secretary mode in the form of also being a streamer. And I guess that's why the co-optional podcast, in a lot of ways, they eventually just work their way to saying, hey, nobody cares about the new releases. That being said, I'm trying to establish here, and I hope people that watch me can believe me, that if I am choosing to filter out something, it is because it is the lowest of the low effort games. It's so obviously so bad that there's nothing to comment on it, nothing to say. I think the fact that I am totally willing to show off visual novels and lewd games and adult games shows that I don't have any like editorial bias in those fashions. Maybe that I do have an editorial bias in something else that I don't recognize. So it's really just a quality bias is what I'm trying to have. Right.
Reporting for duty.
And do I want this? Do I want to play this now or just wait? No, I think I should play this now.
The battle! For justice! The battle! The battle!
Next, there's a game on Steam called Shmup, as in shoot 'em up moments. Looks like it's pretty much a low effort shoot 'em up. There's not much here. It's $2.69 discounted. That seems really high. This guy's just getting powered up. Alright, well, let's do this.
Time's up. Let's do this. Reporting for duty. Reporting for justice.
Kill that guy. I should have killed that guy last turn. That was a mistake. Speaking of a mistake, Gemetsu has an article. Super Real Mahjong PV for the Switch has been temporarily pulled from the Nintendo eShop in Japan. Minecraft is checking and revising certain scenes. So this game is interesting in a lot of ways because this is a Sega Saturn era title. Like it was on the Sega Saturn, at least in Japan. It's Mahjong with a little 80s anime toplessness. I think is pretty much as far as it goes. I don't even think it goes bottomlessness. Bottom. If that matters. Like, I'm not sure if that's even an argument people make anymore. Do I want to take this? Yeah, it's better. I actually have to do this or I would have lost. Come to think of it.
Reporting for duty.
Like I'm low on life.
Quickly.
So I imagine when it first came out it was completely uncensored because there's an uncensored version that exists clearly, and then they're releasing it on the Switch in Japan on the eShop. And they censored it, but apparently they didn't censor it well enough. I've seen a few screenshots. They're doing the little light bar that is now becoming more of a thing for PlayStation. Let's try something different. Let's see what Warlock looks like at this rate. So they're doing the light bars over the breasts, and apparently they did the light bars too thin, and so there was some nipple slips as it were. Let's see. So a lot of this still goes around is because of the 0 rating system. In fact, 100% of this is the 0 rating system in Japan, which I don't believe allows any nudity on console games whatsoever in any case. So it's extremely strict, and it's only gotten stricter since it's been established. And I don't know in Japan if there's actually a legal reason why consoles or game publishers have to follow the 0 system, but they're Japanese, so they are. But clearly the game developers and almost certainly the customers of this game are not appreciating the idea that the game is censored. A game from the 80s that came out in the 80s uncensored is now censored. That is not something I think people of any country would appreciate. A regressive policy. And it's so silly too because it's like 80s graphics. Like, but that's where we are. There's also, I guess, a point to point out that for all the the memes and the jokes that Japan is just the land of pervert hentai otaku. It's not all true. Like there is a lot of conservatism in a lot of things, maybe not so much nudity, but that exists in Japan, and it is a highly conservative country.
Job's done.
Next, we have a game on Steam called 101st Hyper Tower. This looks like that Nickelodeon cartoon, or the one with the monkey. I forgot the name of that cartoon for little kids. It looks like somebody is drawing an older version of her, but I imagine that's not anything more than a slight reference. We've seen a lot of low effort games where it's jumping and shooting. This might be one of those, or this might actually be a polished full product. It's really gonna have to boil down on a lot of games like this to reviews, and that's why the review system needs to have some accuracy. I heard more people complaining about Steam taking off review bombs. I still really can't get that upset about it. This is $11.99. I'm gonna put this on the follow list, but almost certainly it's not gonna stay there.
In the light's name.
1,001st Hyper Tower is also a terrible name. Like, I get it that the Steam reviews at the top are not being accurate and not being consumer friendly. They are the same, in my opinion, as any reviews you would see on the box of cereal, or the JD Power Wentworth. Is that the name of the company that you just buy your own reviews from on commercials? Like, or the Better Business Bureau in the United States. That's just an organization that will you just pay the money and they'll give you a good rating. If you don't pay money, they'll give you a bad rating. So yeah, Steam's culminated, curated reviews at the top of games have never been the accurate, smart place for people to get true, pure reviews from. It shows the need still very much exists for YouTubers like me and much bigger YouTubers than me to review games. And it doesn't have to be in a text form. It can be in a quick look if you want to do it in a video form. But we do need people can grow to trust and know and believe reviewing games who are not under direct control of the storefront selling those games. Imagine if Steam started telling video game reviewers that they can't say negative things about the games that they play on their storefront. Imagine how that would sound. That would sound terrible. But since it's Steam storefront, and I feel like probably because it never really was the true review system anyways. I also am coming from it from a slightly different perspective, because I think people are not looking at it from as much a global perspective as they probably should be. That I think the only reason Steam came out and said they're going to start ignoring review bombs is a direct assault against, it's a direct attack against China's the review bomb against the game Devotion. And had there been a review bomb, and I mean historically up until this point there have been review bombs against games and they have said nothing. It wasn't until a Taiwanese company had a game that had something insulting the Chinese president that they, in that game, getting review bomb, did they say that. And I imagine Devotion will sneak its way back onto the Steam Steam store and have all of those review bombs hidden. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz has an article. Axiom Verge producer files suit against Badland Publishing for $200,000. Dan Edelman alleges publisher hasn't paid share of the European distribution in earnings, flaked on promises for healthcare fund for the developer's ill son. This is an article we had already talked about, but I believe there is a new update here. Let's see. Update March 18th. Let's see.
Why do you call?
Quinton's, which is I think the person being accused, posted a statement on his Twitter account over the weekend in response to a story in the above linked story about Badlands' dealings with limited run games.
In the light's name. In the light's name.
As you command.
Quote, I understand that due to the extreme situation we're going through, our way of doing things has not been ideal, and I'm sorry for any damages this has caused to the parties involved. But I want to reiterate that I am still willing to reach out and assume the payment of the debt, which I have never refused, to avoid further damage to companies and people involved in the situation, he said. He added that, quote, due to seriousness of some of the accusations that have been made in relation to this issue, I have been forced to put this matter in the hands of my lawyers, who reserve the right to take legal action against anyone who might make public inaccurate or false information harmful to the interest of the company in which I now work, Badlands Publishing, or my own. I assume or my own means or my own. Let's see. Let's go ahead and hit this like that. So he put out kind of a my bad, but also I'm gonna sue you answer. Hey, we got somebody in the chat. Timmy Fox says, hi, hey Timmy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. T-E-M-M-I-E. Okay, I want to hit this and then do this. There we go. Game. Nice setup, nice play. 4th turn victory there. Timmy says it's correct. Oh, cool. It's just a new name I haven't heard before. It's always nice to learn something new. Let's just keep playing. I'm trying to see how high I can get with these new auto-built decks in Hearthstone while covering the video game news. Let's see, Gamasutra has an article. Chet Falizka. Let me just web peek this. Chet Falizek and Kimberly Vole form co-op game studio Stray Bombay. Let's see, this. No. Former Valve developer Chet Falizek and Riot Games veteran Dr. Kimberly Vole have joined forces to form a new Seattle-based studio Stray Bombay. Following his departure, The veteran scribe joined Worlds Adrift and Surgeon Simulator developer Bossa Studios to serve as the game director on a mystery project, but has now seemingly left that post. So it seems like he's bouncing around a lot. And then there's something to be said about, at least in my head, naturally just shipping people. Like, I see a male and a female working together to start a new company, I immediately assume that they're romantically intertwined, and that's not probably a terrible assumption in the video game industry, because it does sound like there is quite a lot of that happening between video game developers and journalists, and that's not super surprising either. There we go. Let's see. Tammy asks, ever heard of Undertale? Yeah, I've heard of it. I may own it. I just haven't gotten around to playing it. So, like, I know the general idea, and that kind of sucks because that also means I know that there's a element there of playing the game as a pure pacifist mode in the first playthrough, but that's not the realistic way that most people would play Undertale the first time. So when I cover it, I'm going to have to admit that, yeah, I kind of already know the general idea of the stories here, so I can't play pure pacifist mode knowing that that's not really how I would have played had I not been spoiled on that. So, and then I don't think I would go with a full destruction mode, but or whatever the opposite of a pure pacifism mode would be. But I may just stumble into playing that way anyways. Look at that, rank 15. I have never been this high. I've never been to rank 15. They have a 100% win ratio with their Warlock right now. So yeah, I have so many games, and I have been doing this for 5 years, and I've kind of burned out. As far as my scheduling goes, I have things going into July this year, and I want it to be, frankly, into March of next year. Like, I want to be exactly at least 12 months ahead with 3 things airing every weekday on my channel. And then I would like to go start expanding my channel back to the way it used to be, where I had 4 or 5 different games airing every weekday, in the same vein as a TV channel. That's always how I've seen my YouTube channel, is that I want it to be, this is the prime time lineup of this channel. So maybe you're not interested in but one of those games, but there's always something to watch. I'm not sure if that really works for YouTube. It probably doesn't. But also, I don't want to fall down to being just like a Minecraft streamer who only streams Minecraft and nothing but Minecraft. But right now, I'm trying to slowly ramp up from being burnt out, and I'm taking it easy, certainly. Trying not to push myself too hard. So right now, it's just 2 things. So what that has to do with Undertale, if I was to play Undertale today, it probably wouldn't come out, it wouldn't air as pre-recorded footage until July, and frankly, I probably am not going to play Undertale until the new sequel game comes out. Like, there's games that are 5 years old that I'm playing, that I got them when they were brand new, when they was 5 years ago old. I have a lot of opportunity. I have managed to be in a good position with Steam, where I just have over 1,000 games to pick from. So if I want to do a theme and play something like that, play several games in a similar theme, I can play them in a row. So like right now I'm trying to cover 3D puzzle platforming games, so I'm playing DLC that I never got around to playing for the Talos Principle, and now I'm playing a game called Cube Director's Cut, and then I'm going to play Cube 2, and it's QUBE, and then there's another one called Magnetic Case Closed, or Magnetic Cage or something.
Quickly.
Let's see. Timmy said, Genocide Run is very hard, and if you're going to get Genocide, then take any chance to be a complete monster. Yeah, I think I probably would end up with just a medium run, and I know people are very, very passionate about Undertale, so if I could feel that same passion when I do get around to playing it, I could see myself deleting a save file and trying a pacifist mode after that, and then deleting my save file and trying the Genocide Run after that. But there is, I think, probably a combination there of at least 9 different outcomes, because I know the game also remembers if you've played it before and will call you out if you do a pacifist mode after you've done a normal mode or genocide mode. So more than likely, just in an effort to save time, I'd play it normally and get just like a normal ending, and then play it as the pacifist mode. There's a lot of games out there that still feel like this is the 80s with video games in a lot of ways, where they're giving you 400 or 500 hours of experience, and that's just not how I play video games nowadays. That's how maybe a little kid that only gets video games on Christmas once a year might play video games. Not that Undertale is probably appropriate for little kids. So I would want a more accelerated experience, and at best I could probably play it twice if it's as short as I think it is. Alright. Let's see if we can do this. This, and this. Nice. That worked well. This. And then return. But yeah, there's a lot of games. A lot of games people have asked me to play. A lot of games that I want to play. You can friend me on Steam. The link's down below if you want to see like the entire library. But yeah, mostly these days I'm just trying to take it easy and bounce around the games. Like I just went through setting up for May the 4th be with you, so at some point around May there will be a point where I cover a bunch of old Star Wars games, and for every single one of the Star Wars games I was just like, well, I'm not that interested in Star Wars, and this game is so old that I'm not really interested in playing it. And so I would put like 30 minutes into it just to look at the Star Wars game. In fact, one of the Star Wars games I covered, Dark Forces, a fan project is working on updating that game into 3D graphics, and the fan project looks really good. I'm not sure if without some other fixes, though, if Dark Forces, which is a first-person shooter kind of storyline-based adventure game, it's kind of like a very vertical version of Quake or Doom if the levels were a lot bigger. Like, I'm not sure you're really gonna have a good experience without some major level redesigns or some breadcrumbing to tell you where to go, because every single level I played in the Dark Forces series, which it's called Dark Forces in the first game, and then they move over to Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, so it's better than as the Jedi Knight series. Without major workarounds, you're just you're not having a great experience. Alright, let's just go ahead and kill this for safety. And
Minion already attacked.
let's see. Timmy says, yeah, I just got a VR headset on Christmas. I spent like 120 hours on it already. Yeah, VR's always been a weird one for me. Like, because I look at every single game that comes out on Steam, there's always a few, but it's not a huge number of games that look interesting to play in VR to me. Not enough to really justify purchasing the price of VR. I suppose if somebody gave it to me, that would be a different matter. But and also I'm, as a YouTuber, in a weird position there because I don't know how I'd really mic myself if I was doing VR. I very possibly could have just won then. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, there are some great games that do have VR modes, definitely. And I think that's where VR is going to balance itself out to, is that people are going to maybe put VR support in games where it makes sense, but otherwise they're going to not really bother with it. In the past 6 months, it's felt very much like VR is starting to be a forgotten element that people are just wrapping up on development of games they started developing on 4 years ago. Tammy says, yeah, because you've been doing PC gaming. Yep. I think the PlayStation VR is probably the best implementation of VR too, because PSVR is not that expensive if you've already got a PlayStation, and there's a lot of quality control there that you're not running into on Steam, where so many games that come out for VR are just stand in one place and throw things, or stand in one place and shoot things, and it looks so dull. I've seen so many like tower defense games in VR. It's just in Steam, looking at everything that comes out on Steam, you definitely do see all the bad stuff instead of any of the good stuff, or very rarely get to see any of the good stuff. And artistically, I feel like you're possibly, in some cases, losing some elements when you go into VR, because in a movie you have a director, you have well, not usually the producer, it's the director that is deciding where the camera is going to be and what the audience is going to see. When you go into VR, you lose that. And in video games, when they're showing a cutscene, there is still a camera, a virtual camera, showing you how you should see that scene and from what angle. And we've seen it mess up in a few times to hilarious effect, but more often than not, if you're just in VR and you can't take control of the scene and show the person what you want to see, because that would be disorienting, then you're going to have players looking in the exact opposite direction of where the action is happening. Look at this, I am so high up, I'm back up to needing 4 stars to win. And so there might be something to be said about limiting yourself at least a little bit and maintaining control of the camera and making art. But that's kind of a high level artistic argument that is really above my own head. Let's see, this story on Gamasutra was talking about Chet Falizek and Kimberly Vole form co-op game studio Stray Bombay. Let's see. Vole, the continuous Vole, meanwhile, recently worked as a technical designer at Riot Games, where she helped develop various games and social systems present in League of Legends. She's a specialist in player psychology, artificial intelligence, and human-centric designs, and has a PhD in computer science. And like Falzek, has a keen interest in the world in virtual reality. So maybe they're making a virtual reality League of Legends esports game. Interesting. Speaking of virtual reality. In their new venture, the pair want to make social games that give players a place to breathe and live in the moment, and hope to do so while changing the culture of game development. Okay. Players are smart, they are social, but games often don't reflect that, and we think they can change it. So we're forming a new studio in Seattle that is itself cooperative. As Kim and I talked over the years about the kind of games that we want to make, we realized we wanted to create games that give players a place to breathe and live in the moment. So it almost seems like what they're trying to make is something like Half-Life. No, not Half-Life. Second Life. A Second Life in VR. There is a game already out there like that, but every time somebody tries to make something like Second Life, it's including Second Life, it always seems so ambitious, and it runs into the uncanny valley of being just not realistic enough. Let's see. Gamasutra ends their article. You can find out more about Stray Bombay by checking the full announcement post, but don't expect any concrete game details until Falazek and Vole have finished laying the foundation. So there's a couple of things here. Working in Seattle is kind of expensive. There's a lot of places off the coast of the United States. Like if they would just if somebody would start a video game company anywhere in off of the coast, just outside of an extremely liberal Seattle, California, New York, maybe DC areas, it would be a lot cheaper for just renting the building. But of course they don't want to do that. Nobody wants to live in those areas that aren't drowned with people who they politically agree with. So, also, this is supposed to be a co-op company, it sounds like. That's going to be weird. The thing about an announcement of a new company is it's interesting. It's always a good balance to the huge number of people that have been laid off or fired, and I expect will be laid off and fired this year. I've said 2019, I suspect is going to be the year of the layoff and the bankruptcy as far as video game companies, because 2018 released a lot of games and none of them really made any money, and we've already seen a lot of close to bankruptcies or bankruptcies and closures and layoffs happen this year. So yeah, but it's nice always to see the opposite, and we will, of course, like every year should have at least 5 major companies formed in the video game industry. or big name people. There is something also to remember about that, though, that
Your magic shall
it's
not
possible a lot of times for somebody to work on some big game and not really have artistically contributed to it much. They may have been the worst employee in the bunch. A great example of this is one of the students who were hired out of Digipen College to make Portal 1 later left to be the person in charge, if I'm recalling correctly, of King, the maker of Candy Crush. She really didn't, in the years since then, she really hasn't done anything with King to make King and Candy Crush any more successful than it already was. And frankly, going from a video game development position to more of a managerial position usually is an indicator that you aren't very skilled in the actual development elements. Like anytime you get promoted to a managerial position, you're probably getting promoted because you're not that competent in the actual creative aspect there. Next we have a game on Steam called 100 Pounds. Right? That's 100... No, that's 100 euros. This is clearly a low-effort game. I don't know why we're getting so many low-effort names. This would be impossible to search. And this is probably a troll game, too. And it's 59 cents discounted, and it's bundled with several other games. So, yeah. We are still seeing a lot of low-effort games like this come out. Like one short. I am awestruck by how well I'm doing right now. This really does go to show that I've just been playing terrible decks. I really have. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Former EA and THQ exec Danny Bilson to helm the USC Games program. Veteran game and entertainment exec Danny Bilson has been named as the new director of the USC Games. I assume this is the University of Southern California, and not some other organization. I'm just gonna see if I can draw a card.
Well played.
There we go. I had to draw 4 cards to do it, but I did it. Bilson, who previously held key roles at EA and THQ, has been teaching at the University of Southern California since 2005, rank 14, and back in 2017 took charge of the Interactive Media and Games Division at the USC School of Cinematic Arts, or the SCA. He claims the game design programs, which is a collaboration between SCA's Interactive Media and Games Division and USC Viterbi School of Engineering and Computer Science Department, will look to further blend its design and engineering classes to offer, quote, true cross-discipline education. I'm gonna go ahead and just skip the rest of this article at this point, though, because I don't read the entirety of articles out loud. That's a waste of time, and B, this is only video game related in those 2 small aspects. One being that this is somebody who used to work for EA and THQ, which there's a lot of people that used to work for EA and THQ, and I assume this is the old THQ and not the THQ Nordic. Not that there's much of a difference. And he's working to improve the ability of the school to teach what actually needs to be taught so that you can be a competent video game programmer when you get out of that school with a 4 years bachelor's or a 6-year plus master's or something along that line. Which that definitely is a problem. Like, there are a lot of colleges out there that are teaching computer science to no real job. They're teaching programming that is not relevant or helpful if you were going to be a video game programmer. They are teaching programming that is not relevant or helpful if you're going to be an accounting program developer or any other kind of program developer. They're teaching things from books that are not helpful. They're teaching things from decades previous, and they're teaching just bad methodology in general. And I know this because I was educated as a computer programmer. So, yeah. If somebody from the industry can help improve that, that is not a bad idea.
Why do you fall?
Let's... I guess we'll just have to do this. Gearbox put out another picture saying time to tease another game for their that they're going to announce. It was this picture here, which this is the Bulletstorm remastered release that Gearbox Publishing published with the Duke Nukem skin DLC added on there, which was like a pre-order bonus, and it really sucked and was not worth getting. And the way this was republished really sucked because people who owned Bulletstorm, the original format, were not given any discount or in any way allowed to get a free upgrade, which I felt it should have been a free upgrade, and a lot of people did. Many previous games have given free upgrades to previous owners.
Job done.
This is about the 4th or 5th game that looks like it's just getting re-released through Gearbox Publishing, which at this point that means either these games haven't come out for the Switch and they're all coming out for the Switch, which is slightly believable, or they're coming out for that Google console that is rumored to be happening. That might be it too. Like, or there's some other console that's going to be announced, unless they're going to come out and say we have this game, it's for a future console that has yet to be announced. That might be the case too. I don't know what else they could do with it. Bulletstorm Remastered is already on Steam, it's already on PC, it's already on Xbox One, it's already on PlayStation, I'm pretty sure. Alright. Silence a minion. Get this. And this. Draw a card in the turn. So, yeah. Timmy says, yeah, by the way, if the screen you were just on wasn't showing up. Really? Darn it. Let me look at that. Is my web peak working? Nope. It's not. Alright, well, I can't fix it without restarting the entire stream. I'm gonna have to remember that. Thanks for telling me, Tammy. So that was an entire stream where none of the web peaks were working. Alright, we'll just go to audio only and stick to Hearthstone on the video. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. Eno Games looking to acquire free-to-play mobile titles. Eno Games has announced its plan to venture into a new business model of acquiring free-to-play mobile games in its early stages and helping devs improve and market their games under the Eno Games portfolio. Okay, that's pretty much all you need to know as a consumer of video games, is that you might start seeing more free-to-play mobile games coming out under the Eno Games brand. One would hope, but that is basically a ridiculous hope, that maybe that would help improve the quality of mobile games that come out, but it really won't. Like, particularly if the main focus is we want free-to-play games, because that really just means they want free-to-play games with microtransactions, almost certainly. Next story, GameIndustry.biz has an article. The Fifth Planet closes its Nottingham studio. CEO says, quote, "Now is the time to take the consequences," end quote, for underperforming games as it lays off 14 people. So 14 people were apparently the only people in that studio. Let's see. Fifth Planet Games was formerly known as Fuzzy Frog, but I have not heard of either of those companies, so doesn't seem like they've made anything interesting. Says here they were founded in 2009, and it produced a number of mobile titles such as Cristiano Ronaldo's Kick and Run, Hugo Troll Race 2, and the Animal Planet augmented reality app Real Scary Spiders. So, yeah. Not a lot of content as far as games worth mentioning. Okay. Let's see, the studio's closure comes less than 2 years after it was acquired by Fifth Planet, which was then called Hugo Games. Interesting, there was an old point-and-click adventure game called Hugo's House of Horrors. I wonder if that game was, it had any relation to the name of that company.
It's playtime. It's playtime.
Well, I don't like that though. No.
Wow.
Let's just leave this here. Just hold on to that. Yep. Hugo's House of Horrors is a really, really old point-and-click adventure game. Well, that sucks.
In the light's name.
TechRaptor has an article. Next Nindies showcase is Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. That would be Nintendo Indies. I imagine this is going to be a showcase of probably about a dozen indie games that are coming to the Switch. I doubt we'll see anything for mobile. Maybe one game for mobile, and none of them will be anything besides indie games. So it could be half a dozen. I don't think you'd have a showcase if you had less than 4. to talk about, even if you were going to stretch it out. Sometimes Nintendo directly tells you how long it's going to be. Yeah, it says it's going to be around 30 minutes, so you can ascertain from a 30-minute presentation that you're probably not going to have 3 games that are each talked about for 10 minutes. More likely you're going to have 10 games talked about for about 3 minutes. So there will be a lot of news about that. Next we have a game on Steam called Massive Effect, clearly trying to get some name misunderstanding and confusion between the game Mass Effect. It's a low effort ASCII game for 74 cents discounted. So yeah, that's not going to the wish list. Let's see, I need these guys.
Mushroom power!
And this. Okay, so I've got 7 damage right now, but I want this guy gone.
I'll get right on it.
And how can I get this guy gone without healing himself a lot? Or if I could just get 5 damage, which would be hard to do. This is gonna suck if I have to use this. Okay, well, how are we gonna do this? We play this first, and then I guess we're gonna do this, and then this. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Double 11 acquires Voofoo Studios. That's VOOFFO Studios. The UK developer and publisher adds Mantis Burning Rising Studio for an undisclosed fee. Double 11 is best known for the Pixel Junk series, Goat Simulator, and Prison Architect. So Double 11 is a slightly recognizable name of a company.
Mushroom power!
Get rid of this. Just gonna play this.
Job done.
Let's see. Double 11 has also acquired Voofoo's multi-platform Mantis engine, which is the most recently powered 2016's Mantis Burning Racing for all consoles and PC formats.
Unleash me.
Alright, do I want to play this now? Yeah, because this and this work very well together. Let's see. In 12 years of business, Voofoo has been responsible for the Pure series of simulation games such as Pure Chess, Pure Pool, and Pure Hold'em. It also developed Hustle, Kings, Backgammon Blitz, as well as Mantis Burn Racing. Sounds like Double 11 is a pretty big publisher, but not that big, and Voofoo Studios is a pretty small publisher. But so a UK acquisition has occurred, which with the Brexit issue happening. Who knows how business in the UK for any company is going to be in the future.
Let's move quickly.
Timmy says Mass Effect. The game was actually called Massive Effect to infringe and confuse for Mass Effect. So Massive Effect is not made by BioWare. It's not the game you're thinking of. They're trying to confuse the market, and I'm not sure if you could actually copyright Mass Effect particularly, but you probably can't. It might be a little too generic a name. I could give it 2 more. Is this worth doing? If I do this...
Your soul is mine.
Let's see. Tammy says, yep, that's what I was going for. Sorry, all caps. Yeah. That's why I use a program to disable the caps lock on my computer, because you should never use the cap lock at all. It should be a button that does not exist. You should always, in keyboarding, use the shift key if you want to type in all caps, because that means you really mean it. Alright, I can silence
Your magic shall
one,
not save you.
so I need to draw a card, and
Someone call for the
heal, and do this. So next we have a story. I had talked about this about a week ago, and I was wondering how this was going to go. And apparently this story went the most hilarious way possible. I probably lost here. He's figured out how to activate his quest. So there was this NES game called Star Tropics. It's not really hidden or anything. It was a medium tier NES game. I played it on the NES when I was a kid, but it had this really cool thing. With the manual, there was this piece of paper, and the piece of paper looked blank, and it said, do not lose this piece of paper, you will need it to progress in the game at some point. It said something along that line, but it looked blank. And about halfway through the video game of Star Tropics, which is a kind of like a side-scrolling adventure game. I wouldn't really call it an RPG too much. It's a very basic NES game by modern standards, but it was pretty long. So several hours into it, you would get to a point where it says you need to soak that piece of paper in water, and it will tell you the code, and then type in the code to progress. So that was really cool. I remember doing that, soaking it in water, and the paper actually did reveal a secret message on it, and it was cool. It felt very weird to be soaking paper in water, because you would just assume that it would turn into garbage, like into just a mush, but it didn't. So it was coated or made out of something. So skip 30 years probably into the future from when that game. I'm just playing all the cards at this point. So yeah, skip 30 years in the future. They're re-releasing Nintendo NES games on the eShop if you have the Nintendo streaming service, and they put Star Tropics on there. So that gets us to this Tech Raptor article. Star Tropics on Nintendo Switch is missing a vital code needed to progress. The Nintendo Switch online version of Star Tropics is lacking the code necessary to make progress. I had no idea how they were going to fix that. I figured they would probably either tell you in the manual or like, because I think you can pause the games to see the manual, or they would tell you when you launched it or something like that, but it seems like they did nothing. Let's play one more game and then we're going to break up this recording. The article goes on, it's tempting to believe that the problem lies with the digital conversion of the game. Star Tropics is an interesting case. When it originally launched, the instruction manual contained clues that were necessary for the players to make progress to certain points. One of these was a letter to the protagonist Mike from Dr. Jones. Players needed to immerse the letter in water in order to reveal the extra instructions that were needed to make it through Star Tropics' 4th chapter. Obviously, this isn't possible in the digital version of the game. There are ways that you could do it, but it would be hard. Well, no, not really. You would have to make a little animation and show it off. The odd thing is that this issue was already solved by the Wii U version of Star Tropics. In that virtual console release, the letter, complete with extra information revealed at the end, was available at the very end of the game's e-manual, the digital instructions and manual access through the Wii U's menu. Interesting. So they just did such a terrible job of porting it. They had already solved this problem and they just didn't bother to port the solve for the Wii U version to the Switch version. The Nintendo Switch Online's version of the game doesn't have this letter included anywhere, making it hard for players to progress. We live in a wonderful age of the internet, so you could just search for it online, but hey, where's the fun in that? Let's see. If we... I can spoil it here. The part that you see says, Mike, I found some strange ciphers in my last voyage. Since then, someone has been watching me. I put a tiny transmitter in my shoe. The frequency is 747 megahertz. Perhaps I'm worried too much, but better be safe than sorry. So 747 megahertz is the part that you would need to know, I imagine. It's been a long time. There might be a little bit more to it than that. Yeah. So, yeah, that's just a good example and a funny example of just the laziness in which these NES ROMs are just being put on Steam. And not Steam, it'd be nice if they were put on Steam, but they're just being put on the Nintendo eShop. Nintendo doesn't care about it at all. They're just trying to get as much money as possible.
In the light's name.
Next we have a game on Steam called Walden, a Game. It's pretty low effort title if you have to comma a game as your title. It just looks to me like it might be a game or it might just be a walking simulator. But even if it is a walking simulator, there's enough variety in the screenshots and there's a map being shown. And I see at least one person in a store, so this actually looks like it might be something worth keeping an eye on. It's $15.19 with a 20% discount right now. Walden, Walden. So
Face the light. Face the light.
let's see. So there might be a level here of it being way too expensive, and it might be not really good quality.
Why do you fall?
Let's see, I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of this. I think that's the right move. But I'll put Walden on my follow list, and when I put a game on the follow list, just for reminder's sake, that means I'll wait until there's at least 20 reviews on it and see if those reviews mean something.
Face the light.
See if the reviews are mostly positive. Gematsu has the same article, Indie Showcase, Nindy Showcase for Spring 2019, set for March 20th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So you really don't have to watch most of the showcases. I might, if I'm awake for it, if my insomnia doesn't flare up, I might sit through all the showcases of E3, but even at that, there's a good argument to be made to not do that. Not waste the time. Anything of real importance gets reported. Actually, to be honest, for E3, that's kind of not true. E3 shows a lot of like video of games that barely get mentioned, if reported on at all, because people, a lot of the big mainstream video game journalists are only focused on the big AAA development games, and they'll totally miss the small things that are announced. At least that's what I found last year when I looked at the watched E3 stream. There was a lot of games that got announced. They haven't come out yet or anything, so maybe it didn't matter that they were announced. Alright. This should work fine. This should work fine.
Time's up. Let's do this.
Let's hit this here. And then this should take out everybody else. Next I have a game on Steam called Escape from the Tomb Tower. This is a very black background, low effort 3D world. You're wandering around what looks like a maze inside of a giant pyramid, but it's just missing so much textures. You're in this giant black dome, and it looks like it's probably only about 5 minutes of content. It's 99 cents with no discount. Also, there you go. Another victory. So we're gonna end this on a victory, I suppose. Today is Monday, so I guess I could just re-roll this. There's no reason I needed to get all of them done. And I need to move over to the European account at some point. It's been over slightly under 2 hours for this recording. Stay tuned if we're watching live. As always, I ask you to like... You know what, I probably will stop this recording and start streaming a second one. Just so that I can reset the web peak and get that working. So, but I'm just gonna start a stream like 5 seconds after I end this one, so I might disconnect you, but if you go back and and search my name on YouTube. You should be able to find it. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.